and there are all sorts of these which form ore minerals, these incompatible elements that form ore minerals. So copper and tin, but also zinc, arsenic, lead, silver, nickel, uranium, wolfram, manganese, iron. There's gold in there somewhere, manganese. I think that covers most of it. But all of these various elements have been mined at one stage or another, usually during the 1800s in this area of Britain. Now, the ore fields themselves are distributed. Well, this is the distribution of the ore fields. Let's put it that way around. So they're not necessarily all mixed together. So you can get mines that just find tin, and right next door, you can get a mine that has tin and copper in it. And then next door to that, you can have something without any tin at all. And they can be actually along the same lode. So as you go out along lodes, you can get different mineralization along what is almost certainly the same lode. And there's a, yeah, I'll show you on this. So there's a sort of a time, this is temperature. So 700 degrees up here, granite is a magma at that temperature. Down here is 100 degrees. So finally you get water instead of whatever else it is up here. But what you get up at these sorts of temperatures is aqueous fluids, magmatic aqueous fluids. You get tourmalinization. You get then breccias, you get cassiterite forming at these sorts of temperatures. And then as you come down, you get different things. So you get copper down here, and arsenic and zinc, and lead and zinc, and silver at relatively low temperatures. So different minerals forming at different temperatures. And so that sequence, when you go from tin to tin and copper, to copper and arsenic, to lead zinc, is essentially one of a temperature gradient. This is an interesting map. It's a BGS thing and it's in stream sediment. So what they've done is they've gone and sampled the streams, the water, well, the sediment in the streams all over the West Country. And this is the concentration of tin in those streams. And as you can see, there's still quite a lot of it down there. But the interesting thing is this almost certainly comes from mine debris and the mine heaps and those sorts of things, rather than being primary. Although quite a lot of streams in the West Country were they were looking for placer deposits within them. So there was quite a lot of stream tin mining as well. But this like I say, is probably from old spoil heaps from mines, and it comes with its own problems in that that's the same map for arsenic. So yeah, do you really want to live here? But there are mines everywhere. You can't move for mines in the West Country. It's actually very difficult to find a map of all the mines. Because this is from a website, and you can't zoom in on it or anything else. It's really annoying. But it's from a website that you can use if you're thinking of building something, and you want to know whether or not your building, whatever it is, will collapse into an old mine. And, you know, clearly, if you're thinking of building something in this area, you need to know this stuff. There are a huge number of mines. So here are some. This is Wheal Prosper. This is on the south coast in Rinsey. And this was, So I showed you Rinsey. Rinsey is the one with the pendant, the actual slates within the granite. So the Rinsey Cove is down there, and this mine was actually mined within the pendant and then extended out into the surrounding areas. So this is where we are. This is Wheel Prosper. There's the pendant sticking in there, and it then got copper and tin in there. It went into the granites, and then down here at Trewavas, I'm sure it's pronounced something completely different. That's those sills in the distance, but this was copper mining on the end of in the granites at the end of the same lode. So that's South Coast. North Coast. So this is Wheel Edward. I think it's Wheel Edward and Wheel Oates, might be the other way round. Engine houses on the North Coast, and you see these engine houses all over the place. And in this end, in this area, you had copper, tin, and arsenic mining on the edge of the Land's End granite. So that's here, and you will have heard of some of these things. Batalic mine is here, and these are the crowns, and then Giva is there, and Levant is here. We'll look at those, but basically, Giva was tin mines, Levant was all of those things, and Batalic had tin, copper, and arsenic. And they were famous, and apart from anything else, because they went off under the water. So this is Batalic down here, following a lode that went all the way out, considerable depth over here, down to 450 meters, but Levant from here went down 640 meters under the sea, out here. Giva up here was entirely within, so this is Giva mine, and this is Levant. Levant was basically out under the water, and Giva was in the granite. Sorry, this was in the country rock, in the Killis, whereas this was in the granite. This is possibly the most famous of them all, the most scenic. These are the crowns at Batalic, where they produce copper and tin, with these two scenically placed engine houses. And this is what they look like in the day. Not quite as scenic, but quite extraordinary. And these are some rather wonderful etchings. So the important thing about Batalic is that it had this incline that went all the way underground. And the people would go up, and the stuff and the material would be brought up in these, what were called skips. And they were run by the upper one of these two. So this engine house ran the incline. This one was a vertical shaft. And this is the Prince and Princess of Wales descending the Batalic tin mine, Cornwall, and everybody waving and being happy about it. But and this is what it looked like. So here we are up at the surface. That's that top one. That's the vertical shaft coming down there, and they basically went down. What was it? 450 meters below sea level. But famously, in 1863, the chain broke. The slide was about here at the time, the skip rather, and it went all the way down to the bottom. The chain had broken somewhere up here, so it went down to the bottom, followed by several tons of chain. Everybody was indeed killed. 9 people. But the dark patches, which you only just see in this diagram, is basically where the ore was won from within the plane of this thing. But there were lots of these parallel galleries. The other thing that you can still see at Batalic is this. I don't know whether you've ever seen one of these. This is an arsenic labyrinth. So arsenic is, when you mine arsenic, it's in arsenopyrite, so it's a sulfide. And it's about it's about 40% arsenic. Depends on the quality of the ore. But that's not really very saleable. So what you do is you burn the arsenic in a big fire, and then you pass the fumes from that through a series of tunnels this goes backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards, and then finally up the chimney. The idea being that the arsenic will condense on the side of these tunnels as arsenic oxide, which is 85 to 90% arsenic, which is much more saleable. All you need is some kids to go in here and scrape it off the walls, presumably small, pale-coloured children who didn't last long. But that's what they did. So Giva was the last working tin mine. It closed in 1990. So, you know, glorious history of tin mining for centuries, went all the way up to 1990. It produced 50,000 tons of what's called black tin, which is basically cassiterite. And it's now a mining museum, and we will go and we will go through to this museum in a couple of weeks, in the next week. But this big shed here, okay, is extraordinary, because when you get cassiterite, what does cassiterite look like? That's what cassiterite looks like. So this is the stuff you physically bring up to the surface. But clearly it's got a lot of other junk in with it. Rock, granite, you know, stuff you don't want. So what you do is you crush this, and then you put it on shaker tables, because cassiterite is quite dense. And you run, it's like a tabletop like this on a slight slope, and you run water on it, and it's got rods across it all the way down, and it shakes. It literally just shakes. And what happens is that it separates out the really dense stuff from the slightly less dense stuff, so you concentrate the cassiterite. And then you can sell that. That's the black tin that they actually sold. And this shed is just for that shed is worth the price of admission in this museum on its own. It's a vast area covered in these tables. And when it was operational, it must have just been amazing, because everything must have been just doing this all the time. And water going down and separating out. Brilliant, just brilliant. The other thing we can do here at Giva is we get to go underground. So this is Wheel, Mexico, and it's a real. It was an adit that was used for tin mining, and the amazing thing about it is that this is the granite. You can see from, you know, the way it looks, and this is the killers. It's the country rock. You can actually literally walk along what had been the mineralized edge of the granite batholith. It's rather wonderful. And that's the end. Literally. Thank you.
Do I have to switch that?
No, that's all right. I'll just take it.
Can I ask a question?